Welcome to Burning Bright, a weekly podcast presenting poetry and prose from Passenger. I knew Alexander Graham Bell had invented the telephone. Mr. Watson, come here, I want you. Some sources say it was Mr. Watson, come here, I want to see you. But he also invented and worked on several other devices for transmitting information optically and electronically, too. One of the many things I didn't know about him was that he did a lot of work with deaf people, including Helen Keller. She said he dedicated his life to penetrating that, quote, inhuman silence which separates and estranges. We missed Alexander Graham Bell's birthday, at least I did. It was March 3rd. Is it too late to send him a card, or more appropriately, give him a call? I guess at this point it would be a long-distance call. Back in the 1960s and 70s, when Bell Telephone was trying to promote long-distance calling, you may remember this, their slogan was, "Long distance, the next best thing to being there." Here's Joseph Hann's poem, Toll Free. And suddenly the urge came over me to speak into the disconnected telephone to people long gone, dead friends whom I still owed words, and to myself who I still owed voice. I dialed 1-800-NOW-HERE, then toggled to 1-800-NOW-GONE. It was easy, and everyone was in. No minutes were taken. Ghost talk is far too personal. I offered red roses and dark chocolate, but they said, no, save your money. Better yet, get yourself something nice instead. That's just the way they are. Toll Free, Joseph Hann, from Passenger, issue 55. Here's another phone-inspired poem, this one from Passenger, issue 53, Chronicles, by Dale Tushman. He threw down the first I love you about 2 a.m. in one of the earliest marathon calls. He never slept, and I felt too good to stop listening just because of sleep. Then he spewed out ethereal attachments, house plans so I could find a style to fit the shape of my space and solitude needs earned in my near-death adventure in marriage and divorce. I want a door that swings both ways. I want a porch to hold this cigar-smoking outlaw. His 2 girls, they need a pool. In Texas, you get a pool. He wants a yard. Where else do you barbecue? Out of town, I respond in all caps. He showed up the same day I got his email that started, "Please don't kill me for doing this." We spent our time circling but not touching. I missed his noise. He wanted peace. Turns out he is Auschwitz and I am an Uberdame. Ah well, so much for Buckminster Fuller and Comcast. His patter became frenetic and mindless. The kind you do with any old anyone that you know but can't get the context right, but you know is not an enemy, or when you can't say what you mean and hope you can escape without notice. The ringer is switched off. I now sleep through the night. God help a real emergency. Dale Tushman's poem, Chronicles. I always thought Alexander Graham Bell was an American, and he did end up here, but he was born in Scotland, grew up in England, and spent several years in Ontario. While he was in Ontario, he learned the Mohawk language and translated its unwritten vocabulary into visible speech symbols. He was awarded the title Honorary Chief and participated in a ceremony where he wore a headdress and danced traditional dances. Denisha Naidoo also ended up in Ontario, and, like Bell, she's also interested in Canada's Indigenous people and the disruption of their families and their connection to their land. Here's an excerpt from Denisha's story, The Old Woman and the Cottage. Jarvis never met his grandmother. His own mother was barely around. She did the best she could. He doesn't blame her for wanting to numb the pain. He never knew his father. A lifetime of feeling adrift, one day to the next, surviving. Sitting beneath the maple tree, the earth solid beneath his feet, the breeze calms his thoughts. A person could feel at peace here at home. "You've had no family?" she asks. "How did you know?" She shrugs. "I have had a mother. She died." He looks at the old lady, her face lined from age. She looks like she's barely there. He follows her gaze out to the river and the forest behind it. The soothing sound of water rushing over rocks, the rustle of the wind in the leaves now tinged with red, the smell of dry grass and earth. This is a quiet place, a good place to call home. She sips her tea, one hand patting Uzo's head. Jarvis comes back, first to clean the chimney of the old wood stove, then to help put the storm windows on and tighten the hinges on the door, stuffing insulation between the cracks in the walls of the old cottage. Each time he makes her a warm meal, stew cooked on the wood stove, bread baked in a slot beside the firebox. "You don't have enough wood for the winter, Granny," he warns her. She laughs. "You go ahead and chop some. It's good for the soul." He brings more wood, hunts for moose and traps rabbits in the forest. In the spring, he will tap the maple trees and build a sugar shack. An excerpt from The Old Woman and the Cottage by Denisha Naidoo from issue 76, the newest issue of Passenger. To buy your own copy of the Winter 24 issue, or to subscribe to or learn more about Passenger and its commitment to writers over 50, go to PassengerBooks.com. You can download Burning Bright from Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, and various other podcast apps. For Kendra, Mary, Christine, Roseanne, and the rest of the Passenger staff, I'm John Shore.